I'm actually kind of honored here. This isn't on the script, but I now actually shook the hand of someone that's been on both Fox News and CNN. I'm kind of excited about that. May Panel, is a University of Illinois entomology professor and department head. As a world-renowned expert on insects, she chaired a National Academy of Science study on the status of pollinators in North America. Her research includes investigations of the threats of insects, pollinators, and pollinator health. And in November 2014, she was awarded the prestigious National Medal of Science in the White House ceremony.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. And I have 15 minutes ready from now. Okay. All right. So to say that interest in pollination has been growing lately borders on understatement. This is Google Ngram Viewer. It's an application that lets you see how many times subject has been referenced in the book. Going all the way back to the early 19th century, you can see we're at an all-time high now for pollinators. So many pages are being written about pollinators, which made this email request from Stacy James a little bit daunting. She asked if I would be the first presenter to say why pollinators are currently of such great concern, why they matter to everyone in the room, why the reason we're concerned about flight, examples of pollinators at risk of declining locally, likely or unknown threats of pollinators. In 15 minutes. So I thought maybe I would resort to journalism's 5 W's to focus and make things clear and concise and finish on time. So W, who? First W. Who are the pollinators? Well, there are about 150,000 species of animals that are involved in pollination. The overwhelming majority, probably about 150 to 199,000 of them, are in the class Insecta. So and there are actually many different representatives within the class Insecta. So at least in 6 orders of insects, there are both bees and wasps involved in the order Panoptera, many species of flies, there are butterflies and moths in the order Lepidoptera, many species of beetles, there are even a few oddballs like thrips and even a few bugs that are pollinators. Now, about 1 out of every 100 pollinators is a vertebrate. So just in terms of equal time, there are about 1,500 species of vertebrates involved in pollination. And they include sunbirds, hummingbirds, honey creepers, lorikeets, and all around the world. There are birds that are involved in pollination. There are mammals. Bats are very important pollinators, particularly in the tropics. And there are honey other lemurs in Madagascar involved in pollination. And there's even a gecko or two. Not many, but again, even handed here. So that's the who. In terms of what, pollination is basically the transfer of pollen, which contains male sperm, basically the male sex cells of plants, from the anthers to the female part of the plant, or the stigma. So that's the actual transfer of the pollen grain is pollination. Now, pollination is, if the plant is lucky, followed by fertilization, which is the process by which the pollen grain grows, reaches the ovule or the female sex cell, and fertilization takes place. So the male and female sex cells merge and form a fertilized egg that will continue on. So that's basically plant reproduction. This is the birds and the bees. Bees and birds. It's all about plant sex. And plant sex is important in large part because sexual reproduction allows of genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is how organisms cope with variable environments. Now, one reason that insects are such effective pollinators is that they are very good at moving pollen out of one plant into another. So they're good commissioned by the National Academy of Sciences National Research Council Research on the basically charging a panel of experts who had a very good chair to examine available data and find out if, in fact, pollinators in North America are declining. And if they are, what are the reasons, what are the consequences, and what are the actions that we taken to reverse, remediate, or in any way stop. So after 18 months of study, we released our findings. Two major findings. One is we have no idea the vast majority of pollinators. There are no baseline data. We can't detect the decline. We don't know what it is. The other really striking finding is there is one species for which data are available. It's the economically most important pollinator, but it happens to be a managed species. Similar for the Western honeybee, near managed pollinator of agriculture. And the National Agricultural Statistics Service has been counting honey-producing colonies since 1947, and clearly American honeybee colonies were demonstrably in decline. So this was somewhat alarming in terms of findings, and what sort of added push to that particular finding, including our statement that if this pattern of decline were to continue, the real viable agriculture industry by 2035, that same month was the month of the first reports of what came to be known as black disorder, a serious phenomenon by which the foragers, the oldest, most experienced colonies, simply disappeared as very unutilized and leaving behind all their drugs and food and food. And by 2007, over 20 states had reported this mysterious phenomenon. By the midsummer that year, 5 states. And since that time, there have been major overwintering losses of colonies, not all attributable to what called we're not sure what that was, but notwithstanding, we started paying more attention and counting bees better, counting everybody better, and it's clear that overwintering losses are at an unprecedented level. Now, again, the results of several long-term studies started to appear after the report was released, and they were also very unsettling. Pollinators who always travel all around the country collecting bumblebees, and there are clearly declines in one of the small species of bumblebees are in fact severely declining, probably in association with fungal disease and reduced genetic diversity. If you look at the maps here, gray is the historical records of the distribution of these species. The yellow circles are the number of specimens collected per site, and the little orange slices are commonly representative of the two species found there. And you notice here for Bombus affinis and Bombus terricola, they practically no longer exist. Bombus affinis is one of the most common species there, beginning in the 20th century and the 21st century. So long-term records started to show around another species that has been monitored for many years is our state insect, butterfly, that leads the Midwest, New Mexico, and New Jersey. We all could spend the winter. Millions of them How does that look? And they've been monitored, and Britain in particular has witnessed a profound decline in the number of wild bees and the flower fronds. Okay, so why do they need to? Well, like plants, and you have to worry about pollinators because at least two birds depend on an animal partner, well, insect partner, and probably an animal partner number one. So three-quarters of the planet's flowering plants depend on an animal partner in order to reproduce. If those animal partners are not available, then the future of this planet would be. Now we have to depend on our and the most relentlessly carnivorous but depends no whether he or she recognizes it or not. So the economic impact of pollination globally has been estimated to be worth about $170 billion. Now the vast bulk of the calories we consume are not from the animal pollinated plants, but from wind pollinated grains. Those are part. But everything that takes food and flavorful, for the most part, comes from insect pollinated plants. So disproportionately, insects are involved in the production of fruits, vegetables, and oil crops, stimulant crops and many of the nut crops. So disproportionately, that even though it's not all plants, it is a substantial portion of plants. And it's been estimated that something on the order of 75% of plants would benefit from insect pollination. So in the U.S., insect pollination is worth about $20 billion, and many of the actual fruits and vegetables we eat are a direct result of pollination. Everything that we have is actually all the way down to zucchini. But there are indirect results as well in dairy and beef, cows eat alfalfa, clover, which are plants. Cabbage, celery, onion seeds are produced to eat the roots or the stems, the petioles, but in order to produce seeds to grow those. And even some crops that do not absolutely depend on pollinators, also grapes, produce higher quality products if in fact they have been pollinated. So I was asked about Illinois. Let's see, this website points out, you say Illinois, you think only soybeans. True enough, but in fact, Illinois is number one in Illinois is number one. We're not even number one, we're number two. We produce all kinds of specialty crops. So 100,000 acres of Illinois farmland devoted to specialty crops. They're worth almost $400 million. So what about these specialty crops? Well, again, disproportionately dependent on particularly onions, peaches in southern Illinois. 48% of peaches are dependent on pollinators, 70% of watermelon, 90%. So even in Illinois, where corn is not an pollinated crop, we do have a need for diversity. And beyond that, for what little natural area we need, we have to depend on pollinators. So there's no way to place an economic value on pollination of native plants and native pollinators, but they're here. And without them, there would be massive reduction in plant diversity. So here's one other reason why often journals and how to help. That's what we're here for today. So it's been almost 8 years after, actually February 20th, 2007 is when my classes sort of was that half of America's bees go to almond in California, which was really pollinate the almond trees. No almonds and no pollinators. So what one thing that doesn't in the wake of common classes were the almond growers October of 2014, Environmental Protection Agency did a study of bee treating seeds with neonicotinoids and fungicides. So, the vast majority of seeds, both in France and elsewhere, are pre-treated with insecticide or no type of pesticide called neonicotinoid and the proven even if pests aren't present. And what they did is evaluate data. So the biological analysis division analyzed the use of these neonicotinoids and concluded that they provide negligible overall benefits to soy production. Stated in most cases there's no difference in yield when it's pre-treated or not. Furthermore, the neonicotinoid seed treatments are only bioactive for carrying the first 3 weeks of planting, which doesn't even overlap with the typical activity period of most of the plant. And the problem with this systemic, they're pre-treated, they go into the vascular system, and they're present in one column. It's not clear how much exposure there is to the column. But if it's not doing the grower any good, then there's no point. Now, another thing that farmers do is diversify the landscape to meet the habitat of people are used to being with pollinators in common, but there's more to their life than just food. There's more to our lives than just food. They need a place to live. They need water. They need protection from their enemies. So ground nesting bees need places in the ground to make having nesting bees need spaces. So it's diversifying the landscape to accommodate pollinators is more than just providing them with a few meals. And speaking of those meals, it matters what they eat. Pollinator nutrition is paramount. And it turns out just kind of a no-brainer. There's good nutrition on bees and just about every other pollinator. Cope better with the other stressors. Or recent studies show that bees that are eating pollen actually deal with the toxic pesticides better than bees that do not eat pollen. Moreover, when bees are infected with a fungal pathogen called they actually survive better when they're fed a diet of multiple species of pollen, not one single kind. So the honeybee is by nature the result of billion years of evolution. It feeds on diversity of plants. That's how it gets by. The colonies are active in early May all the way to October. There's no one flower that bees don't eat. They are adapted to feeding on a diverse diet. Imagine how the food feels. It's the same meal every day of your adult life. And in fact, that diversity is needed in order for bees to get the optimal mix of nutrients. Here at the University of Illinois, we've actually shown experiments that nectar matters. It's not just sugar water. There are phytochemicals in honey that upregulate and turn on genes that encode enzymes that need to cut cells. So if you're feeding a bee sugar water or corn syrup, it doesn't get that extra boost to the constitution. Moreover, the same phytochemicals also upregulate or turn on immunity. So a diet of sugar or corn syrup is basically does not equip bees to deal with the multiple stresses that modern Americans encounter. Now, for a long time, people have commonly provided their bees with sucrose and hydrochlorous corn syrup, and in the process, may inadvertently compromise constipation. Why would you feed your bee sucrose and hydrochlorous corn syrup? Because there's nothing else to eat. And then these are just plain starving. You can see starving honey. There are many bees struggling to produce honey. There's not enough food. Here in Champaign County, no surprise. We grow a lot of their yard. We grow a lot of corn in Champaign County. But if you actually look at land use patterns, we don't grow much of anything. So you can see, I have to tell you the colors of the corn. Yellow is corn, green is soybean, red is bean. It's very hard to tell. What makes it worse, the cultivation reserve program has placed the provides financial incentives to farmers to take low levels of unproductive cropland out of production and plant conservation, pollinator friendly vegetation there. And we're losing our conservation reserve acreage. In 2013, the total acreage rolled 25.5 million, lowest total since the program basically began. Here in Illinois, this is our using 35, 31, 84,000 acres a year of conservation reserve. A lot of this is taken by the high food prices driven by the market for ethanol. And here in Illinois, some of the good acreage, not only is CRP being lost, but soybeans right here. This is the corn belt. Soybean production is down, and in order to accommodate corn production, whatever else you think about soybeans, at least they produce nectar and pollen. Corn produces no nectar and pollen that is not good for you. You'll eat it because there's nothing else. But corn is a wind pollinated plant. Corn pollen is not formulated as it were to accommodate make you interested. So again, but it's not just growers, it's not just beekeepers, it's everybody. If you think a manicured lawn is a beautiful thing, then you're not a pollinator. It's basically a biological desert. And you could be using any kind of herbs. That's the place to keep it biologically full. So one thing everybody can do is simply plant flowers and nectar and pollen or tolerate more weeds. Weeds are basically wildflowers growing their sunlight just fine. There's no biological definition. And one person's weed is impacting another person's salvation Jane here. This plant in Australia known as Patterson's Curse by some, salvation Jane by others. It's invasive, but it also is an incredibly good nectar plant. All right, you can also help pollinators by becoming any citizen scientist who will upload an image of a bumblebee. We're tracking populations of the 12 species of bumblebees, the bombers here in central Illinois. And in fact, we upload digital images. There's a color, user-friendly color ISP. We cross-reference by locality. We've inputted historical records, natural history stories, natural history survey, and we're keeping records of bees. And citizen scientists have made remarkable discoveries. Remember Bob is active, disappearing the bee was country extinct within a year of the launch of Bee Spire. Citizen scientists outside Florida uploaded an unmistakable 2 images of Bob is active. Bob is rufus is another bumblebee wasn't even in our database. It's no longer living there. So you can really help just by using your cell phone. Cell phones don't help you, they can help you. And you can support your local bee. If you want to help bees locally, help support your local bee. You can find those. That's a whole other lecture on how wonderful honey is. And you can learn all you can about pollinators. Tell everybody what you learned. Thank you for coming today.
Sign your forehead. Central Illinois Beekeepers Association and Illinois State Beekeepers Association. Bees survive as pollinators for 4 local fruit and vegetable farms. Avon resides very close to the Upper Saltpond Creek near St. Joseph. Talking about planting some more pollinators. I'm excited about that. And is excited about today's panel and a chance for public dialogue on this important
I'll try not to be repetitive. Professor Birnbaum gives a very good picture, and on topic of seminary. I'm thinking from the standpoint of experience and beekeepers' experience and perspective, and I guess from the field standpoint. Comes from a family of beekeepers. My father was a beekeeper. I had an older brother who talked me into taking up beekeeping as a hobby when I retired. I got hooked on on beekeeping. I'm still hooked, and I have 2 nephews that are beekeepers, and my son is also a beekeeper. So I keep in touch with some of my family in northern Illinois Park Forest, bees that are within the city limits, and also a nephew in northern Iowa, and his bees are within the city limits. However, I speak from just personal experience, not as a master beekeeper. I kind of question as far as being an expert beekeeper, but I'm a lifetime learner, and I keep learning from other beekeepers and from events such as this. I have helped some people get involved in beekeeping, and I find it a very interesting occupation, I guess, to say that to meet a lot of great people in this business. My bees are located in definitely the rural areas for pollination purposes of orchards of fruits, vegetables. The apiaries are registered with the Illinois Department of Agriculture, and you can go online and see some of them at Blue Moon Farm, northeast of Urbana, Prairie Fruits Farm, north of Lincoln Avenue, the Robert Price Farm in Douglas County, and the Coconut Farm in St. Joseph, besides my own place. The locations of the bees of my colonies are mostly surrounded by corn and bean fields, which is no surprise. Or the bean fields are corn is very close by. In the 14 years that I've been a beekeeper, I have and had bees registered. I have had only one farmer applicator notify me ahead of time that a crop was going to be sprayed near my apiary. 3 days notice gave me time to close up my hives until it was safe to release it, and it worked. And I appreciate the consideration. Yes, so we saved bees on that particular occasion. In 2014, I had only half as many hives of bees as I had the previous year, 2013, half as many. Since I have to purchase bees to replace what I lose, I don't know what what will happen during this coming year, 2015, or the current year. I know of beekeepers who have given up in recent years or cut back, way back, and these beekeepers look at me and get in conversation, and they look at me as if to say, I can't believe we're still doing this. But I am up to this point. Some losses have occurred in the spring, about hives, the brood disappears, even though there may be a queen. And bees seem disoriented and fail to build up supplies of honey, and pollen is no longer brought in. The most discouraging find this past summer was the hive, which had looked in good shape 1 week and suddenly was a problem on the next inspection. I noticed bees being cleaned out of the hive, so I took the supers apart and off of the screen bottom board to find a huge pile of dead bees, dead larvae, even white pupa that were about to be hatched. Mating bees had cleaned out the cells, and the dead ones were lying at the bottom of the bottom board. There was a remnant cluster of bees, as I indicated, left in the hive. There was a queen. I would like to have had another person witness that scene or taken a video. I was actually so distraught over the scene that I simply dumped the contents of the board and reassembled the hive in hopes that maybe the few bees left would recover. Not only are apiaries affected by pesticide drift, they are affected by the actual pesticides themselves, and fungicides and herbicides that are applied. I have not learned the art of bee herding. The bees go where they want to go. I can't keep them away from bean fields, nor can I keep them in the vegetable fields and the fruit fields. And the soybean fields are probably the primary source of nectar for honey. Soybean, the upside here is that the soybean blooms make good honey. And the honey that is produced in this area is highly desirable. A couple of days after discovery of the awful hive that I described, I received a letter from the local USDA office about honeybee losses being included in the 2014 Farm Bill. I and at least one other beekeeper in this county, the beekeeper that I know, showed up and we applied. That application is still pending. I don't know if it's approved or not. To me, it's significant that the government is becoming aware of the plight of the pollinators, and that also that beekeeping is recognized as a phase of farming. By the second week in August, bees are out of foraging supplies and begin to consume any honey that they had in store. That time, bees become aggressive. We begin feeding sugar water, which I believe is not the best food source, but it's an emergency situation. We can almost tell by September which hives may survive the winter and which ones will not. Bees are weakened, and so the whole colony is weak. Candy boards were also added to some of the hives. Candy board is simply hardened sugar, and those hives did not survive the winter. We need additional habitat for bees, as has already been mentioned. We need early blooming flowers. Tree blooms last only so long. Trees like linden and locust and hawthorn make good light honey in the honey flow. And these need late blooming flowers like asters, goldenrod. That are probably some of the last blooming plants before the frost. We need clover. bees at times become desperate for what they need for the colony. One late winter, I had bees scrambling at my bird feeder. The bird feeder happened to have a brown corn, and I assumed that the bees were using the corn dust in place of pollen to feed the larvae. And I'm wondering if the bees don't scan the fields being worked up for planting and collect powder from corn roots as an item. The corn roots are designed to kill worms, and those roots have been exposed to the surface, and the bees, if they carry that back to the hive, feed the larvae are not going to last very long. I'm not sure about that, but that's I expected several hives. The trend appears to be about 17% survival. The good news is that the two hives look very good in spite of the cold weather. We had a couple of weeks in cold weather. We had a couple of weeks ago. The bees were fed sugar water in the fall, even though they had a good supply of honey stored. I added candy worts on Tuesday in an attempt to keep these particular two hives as strong as possible for a few more weeks. Bee hives, not bee hives, we are not moved from one field to another, except in one case where we moved from an orchard to the vegetables and fruit fields. The trend for my rural apiaries is about 83% loss, 17% survival, 83% loss. I have a few more hives to check yet. I'm not too sure about what's going to happen there. So I'm a farmer, I guess, in a very high risk operation. Extremely high risk. Many beekeepers who once did well have greatly reduced the number of their hives in recent years or left the business or the hobby altogether because of the losses which have been going on for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And it seems to be getting worse rather than better. And as May had already said, there's a problem, seems to be a problem all over the world. The hives in urban areas seem to be doing better from what I'm hearing. Besides being pollinators, honeybees also produce other products that are used in pharmaceuticals, health supplements. The bee bread is used as a health supplement for candle making, cosmetics, and items like lip gloss, and the list goes on and on. There's a high demand for local honey, like we have here in Central Illinois. The problem is we don't have enough honey to meet the demand. If we could solve first what's causing the first 75% of the problems that honeybees, the rest of the problems that leave what pollinators can deal with. Yes, we need more and a variety of food sources for pollinators. Native flowering plants, more clovers, more cover, and protection. Thank you.
Thank you. We have next speaker coming up. We'll put the stage change here. Okay, I know this gentleman. Him and I wander around different offices on occasion. He gets that more fun than me. He gets to go out and actually work in the field with the farmers. I'm a little jealous there. Jason Bly is a Pheasants Forever farm build wildlife biologist who graduated from Southern Illinois University in 2010. Oh, no. All right, thank you. I was hoping there was a Saluki in the crowd. All right. Since then, he has interned and held positions at a number of natural resource and conservation agencies, including Ford County Soil and Water Conservation District, which first place I got to meet him. And he currently covers East Central Illinois for Pheasants Forever. 8 counties, I think, is what you're trying to cover. Yeah. And he works with landowners and producers to implement private lands conservation through partnerships with Natural Resource Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, and Department of Natural Resources, and many others if you can find the partners. Jason.
Just have to on switch there. So like Jonathan was saying, my name is Jason Bly, and I cover 5 counties, but it's really more like 10. To start off, I guess this is basically what we're trying to get out here when it comes to CRP. How many of you guys in here have heard of CRP? Okay, so I don't have to go into much of this through CRP here. But basically, like May was saying, over the last couple of years, we've lost a ton of CRP just in Illinois alone. A few years ago, 84,000 acres was torn out and put back to farmland. And then this last year, 50,000 acres went back into rotation. So basically, part of the reason they hired our positions in the last few years was to help farmers work on the quality of their habitat, since quantity is kind of out of the picture. We're just trying to make better habitat. So, like the previous speakers have talked about, pollination, 75% of flowering plants rely on pollinators. That is 240,000 plants. And it is essential to human health, global food webs, and all agriculture, like previously talked about. And in the 2008 Farm Bill, and again in the 2013/14 Farm Bill, the nation in general realized how important pollinating habitat was, and legislation was passed to get it into CRP for more of the practices to install pollinator habitat. And mandates were put into place with the conservation programs and specifically CRP to manage this habitat for pollinators. So what is pollinator habitat? A couple different pictures of some CRP. Some of this is from Illinois, some is from Iowa, and some is from Nebraska, but this is basically what we want our CRP to look like, especially when we're looking at pollinators. You can see all the different species involved in it, the diversity, and all the different shapes and forms of pollinating species. Key considerations for pollinator habitat. Lots of diversity, as I've talked about previously. The entire growing season. So basically you're wanting pollinating habitat from late April all the way through October. So you're always wanting flowers that are going to be blooming. And lastly, you want different flower sizes, different shapes, and different structures. So you don't just want to stick to 3 or 4 different forks in a mix. You want as many as possible. And some of our Pheasants Forever mixes have forks ranging anywhere from 11 species up to 30 or 40 species per mix. So we're trying to help out in that fashion. Like I said, April through October is the most important time, and these are all different species that come up through those times. I'm sure most of you guys recognize these. And these are some of the ones that are in our actual mixes, which I have booklets in the back. And not only having them bloom throughout the whole season is important, but also the size, color, and shape. So if you look at these next 6 pollinating species, all 6 of them are completely different color, completely different in their size, and also their shape as well. And it's extremely important for the different types of bees, different types of insects and birds that use them. And more importantly here, what I'm here to talk about is the agricultural side of it. So why is pollinator habitat so important to us? And how can we install it into our agriculture industry in central Illinois? The top 4 considerations that we've come up with pheasants forever. Reason number 4, it is critically important to agriculture. Like May had mentioned earlier, the annual value of the honeybee population of the U.S. agriculture industry is anywhere from $14 to $18 billion. So without that, we wouldn't have produce in the grocery stores. Second, or third reason, it's vital for wildlife. Without the pollinating species, really no wildlife would be able to exist. And here's an example that we took from a research project out in Nebraska. This is over the 10-year contract of a CRP property, and these are the pheasant numbers involved with it. So you can tell over the first 3 to 4 years, the pheasant numbers just skyrocketed. And after that, there was very little management on the CRP, nothing to keep the pollinators and the legumes out there. And you can tell over the following 6 years, the pheasant numbers just went downhill. And that's not just the pheasant numbers, that's the insect numbers, the bird numbers in general, and really any wildlife that uses CRP. And here's a picture to better illustrate that. You can tell in year 1, there's a little, it's hard to tell with this picture because it's so blurry, but year 1, there's some foxtail, you can see some forbs in the background. Year 4, it's completely full of forbs, really diverse mix. By year 6, you can tell it's starting to fade out, and it's starting to be just one big grass mat. And by year 12, all it is just a big grass desert, hardly any diversity in it. So how can we fix that? Reason number 2, one of the other reasons we like to use the pollinating species is because there's so many different options for managing them and keeping them on the landscape. I'll go through a couple of the options right now. Prescribed burning. This is probably our favorite one to use at Pheasants Forever and just in general with all of our different USDA offices. Part of the reason they hired our position was to write burn plans for people and to help people make more prescribed burns happen. Fire breaks is also another place where pollinating species can be used. It's an easy, simple place, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the last option of being able to just take the perimeter of an area and just cake it in clovers, alfalfa, legumes, and really any pollinator species. Some of our fire break mixes have up to 8 or 10 different pollinating species in them, and they're extremely cheap too, and very good for wildlife. Here's kind of a close-up of one of our fire break mixes. And then lastly, this option kind of takes the last couple options and I'll put some together. It's interseeding, which is a mid-contract management option for CRP. And basically in the middle of their contracts is we'll have them buy basically like half of the seed mix of what they bought to establish it. Then we'll have them go out and either burn or do some disking or basically get all the dead material off the ground and then interseed their CRP with some more of the diverse mixes out there to keep the grasses and to keep mostly the legumes and forbs in the mix. And lastly, reason number 1, which is probably the most important to the farmers and the landowners. How to make pollinator habitat work in Illinois on Illinois farms. So basically, through CRP, some of the areas that we focus on are timberlines like this, where you can see they're just not getting any sort of good yield on the top picture. And then we'll put it into a CRP field border on the bottom picture. So you're basically taking that last 30 feet up to 120 foot and taking it out of production since it has low yields there anyway. And you're putting it into CRP where you can get a guaranteed payment on the acreage. Here's a couple of the other areas that we really focus on for CRP. The first was that last picture of the timberline. Sandhills are another good one. It's hard to produce a good crop on sandhills because they're so dry. And especially up in Iroquois and Kankakee County, I deal with this quite a bit. And then lastly, which you guys see here a lot in the spring and early parts of the summer, is pounded cornfields. And we have wet pollinator mixes, which are perfect for to these spots. Another spot is along ditches and creeks in the county where erosion is an issue. And here's a picture of the last 8 to 10 rows in a timberline. You can see how much the yield changes as it gets closer to the timber and the trees are sucking the moisture away from the corn. And here's another interesting picture. This was actually from Nebraska, but a farmer and one of our other guys were able to work together to get the yield monitor pictures for 8 different years. And they decided where the worst or the most marginal ground was, and they put all that into CRP. And you can tell that year after year, it didn't matter how much rain or how little rain, the same area always had low yields. So they decided to take that, put it into CRP. And this pollinator program, which I'm sure most of you guys have heard about, is the newest, latest push for the NRCS and FSA. And basically the way it works is they're 10-year contracts for farmers, and you have to have a cropping history of 4 out of 6 years, from 2007 to 2013. There's yearly rental payments, which I'll talk a little bit about these payments in a second. And there's a $150 per acre sign-up bonus. So within a couple of weeks to a month after you sign the contract, you'll get $150 per acre just as some startup money. So you really never have to take too much money out of your own pocket for this practice. And then lastly, there's also a 50% cost share for the seed mix, for the work you have to do to prep the ground and to actually get it planted. Some of the stipulations of the CP42 practice are that there are very few stipulations. It's one that we really like to push because there's no limitations on acreage, or not yet anyway. There's no limitations on widths, no limitations on soil types. Basically, anywhere that has cropping history, we can take and put it into the CRP practice. One of the stipulations which pollinating people definitely like is the fact that only 25% can be grass, 75% of it has to be forbs and legumes. And a lot of people think with that many forbs and legumes that our mixes are going to be really expensive, but they're actually extremely cheap. Most of our mixes range from $120 to $250 per acre. And then lastly, pollinator habitat equals great wildlife habitat in general. And one of the other stipulations of it is to meet that whole season bloom period, there has to be 3 species that bloom throughout each of the couple months of the blooms. So from April to June, there has to be 3 species blooming. June to July, another 3, and then August to October, another 3. And we're actually trying to promote more than just 3. And lastly, when we're working with a lot of farmers and just landowners in general, obviously cost involved and payments are definitely a necessity. You can't just go out and plant 80 acres into habitat and not expect to get a little bit of payment for it. So anyway, the cost or the rental rates for the CP42 program can range anywhere from $139 an acre up to $288 per acre. Some of the surrounding counties are a little bit less, but some of the other surrounding counties are even more. So it's definitely a good option for people that are interested in pollinators and especially yields to put in CRP.
Hold on that.
Well, Sandy's getting ready. I do want to brag on one thing. Last year, I had the News Gazette call me. I was just taking over for Bruce Stickers. A lot of you know him. He retired and I was filling in. He called me and was asking about CRP acres because he heard in national news they're coming out, everybody's farming every inch they can get. And he goes, but Jonathan, I just checked the stats and Champaign County's only down 2 acres. So just to let you know, you got a lot of conscientious farmers. And to prove that, the other day we had a guy come in and he signed up 80 acres in one field that pollinator mix. So, and in Effingham County just got an award for the state president's event. They signed up 800 acres in their county this year. for that mix. So people are out there and they're considering this. It's a good program. All right, you about ready? Okay, all right. Another one of the wonderful ladies that got this all together today here, Sandy Mason. She's a horticultural educator with the University of Illinois Extension. I imagine most of you know her. Yeah, okay, all right. We're going to read on here. Based here in the Champaign office, uses her educate public through the workshops and mass media, such as a weekly gardening column in the News Gazette. Sandy oversees the Master Gardener or Master Naturalist volunteer programs in Champaign, Ford, Iroquois, and Vermilion counties. She has a special interest in gardens as habitat, and today she'll be speaking on respects to pollinators in urban. Is that correct?
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm as Jonathan mentioned, I'm Sandy Mason. I talk with my hands, so it's really hard for me to do this. So, no. Nope. I talk with my hands, so it's really hard for me to use. Okay, what we're going to talk about is creating these pollinator-friendly gardens and landscapes. And I think one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was just the fact that maybe you don't have that 25 acres, 85 acres, 150 acres, whatever to put in the CRP. But can you do something? Absolutely. Now, if you can imagine, look at all the people in the room. Isn't this fabulous? Just look around. We're talking about bees and butterflies and things. Who knew? We're not even giving out any money. Barely got any food. I mean, everything. I mean, this is fabulous. So everybody in the room did a little something. How cool would that be? And then you go out to your neighbor to do it. How cool is it? Okay. So pollinator landscapes. Probably the big thing I wanted people to realize with this is that just because it's a pollinator landscape or a pollinator-friendly landscape does not mean you have to give up on aesthetics. You can still have a beautiful landscape. It still looks great. Neighbors aren't going to get all upset. You can still do all those same kinds of things. It's just paying a little bit more attention to the kinds of things that pollinators do. So you don't have to give up on anything. You can still do the same thing. And actually, I'm doing a little bit of a plug for a book. This is actually Rick Dark and Doug Callany. And May Darabont was saying that she knows Doug Callany very well. He's an ecological that they wrote this book, The Living Landscape, and this just came out. Actually, Doug wrote called Bringing Nature Home for this one. And the nice thing about this one, it goes into great detail about how you can have both. You can help pollinators out, you can help wildlife out, and also have a beautiful landscape. And they give you some very exacting kinds of things and talks about the importance of plants and also even leaves that some of these plants can help. So we really want to look at those. So don't think you have to give up on things just because you want to get into pollination. Or maybe you don't want to get into pollination. Okay, so the big thing about pollinators is that we just have to remember, they're just like us, right? They're living things. They need food, water, shelter, and a nice place to raise their kids. Yeah, I mean, isn't that what we all need? We need those same kinds of things. And just like people, with little kids, they need different things. So like bee babies, can I say bee babies? Is that okay? Bee babies, baby larvae need something different as opposed to maybe different areas, all kinds of different things. We have to keep in mind that pollinators need different things at different stages. And it's not all about food, right? It's not all about food. It's not that easy. This is actually one of the native solitary bees. We often think about honeybees and some of these that are actually quite social. But then, as they alluded to, there are many pollinators out there that aren't social necessarily. I don't think they're antisocial, but they're not, the social like honeybees are when they have hives. And so other important parts as well. This is something I think, now again, I think May mentioned this, is that if you think this is the most beautiful landscape you've ever seen, then I have a long way to go with you, and we need to talk later. You may need an extra course. So this is one of those things, and realize we have this love. Americans have a love affair with the lawn. And it certainly seems to be the default landscape, isn't it? If you don't know how to do anything else, or you don't know anything else for your lawn, you put it on a lawn, right? I mean, it's the default. Unfortunately, this kind of landscape, especially if you are using herbicides and you have your weeds in your lawn, it really is kind of like a vending machine when it is for pollinators for wildlife. Sure, maybe once in a while they can get a few things, eat out of the vending machine that maybe because you have a little butterfly bush up next to your house or something like that. So you have a little something, you know, you can do, eat a little bit here and there. But would you want to live at the rest stop along the interstate, eating food out of the vending machine? You can only go so far with that, right? So this really doesn't provide much when it comes to wildlife as well as food, and certainly food is one of those important parts. Pollen and nectar, and pretty much everyone has mentioned. I'm going to just throw this out as in you've already heard it 3 times already. What do we need when it comes to flowers? Somebody say something that we need when it comes to flowers. About flowers. Diversity. See, you've already heard it 3 times, so there's no other quiz here. So you guys, okay. So what's another thing? Diversity. Constant blooming. So blooming throughout the growing season. Different shapes, different colors. See, you guys already know all this. This is so cool. So this just kind of gives you some ideas about certainly some of the flowers that might be out there for us. Food has to be accessible. And water has to be accessible. It may be there, it may very well be there, but you have to be able to get to it. Like with the vending machine, you have to have the change, right? And it's more key. And Nikki did finally get out, so that's good. I want to let you know he didn't end up in the vet with a glass stuck on his head. But the one thing about pollinators is they're different. They're different. They're the proboscis on this skipper, silver-spotted skipper on this annular blue tummy. There it is, right there. That long thing there, and it actually coils back up again like a New Year's Eve favor, party favor, like that, and then they go back out again. Well, those are different lengths. And also even for bees, and I'm sure Nate can talk much more about this than I can, but certainly for bees, there's long-tongue bees, short-tongue bees. So they have to be able to get to it, and that's the other reason why we need a diversity of flowers, shapes. They have to be able to get to it. We think about, so when we think about food, nectar, pollen, those things, but also life cycle. Remember, food, water, shelter, nice place to raise the kids. You gotta have kids. So you have to have, if you're going to have moths, butterflies, you have to have these caterpillars out there, right? And so for many of these caterpillars, butterflies and moths, they have very specific plans on the kinds of plants that they need out there in order to complete their life cycle. So the caterpillars have to be eating something. Swallowtail actually feeds on horse, which is a fabulous native plant if you've never seen it. Great, wonderful plant to have in your landscape. And also black swallowtail. This would be something for like, dill, parsley, all kinds of things. Now, that means that they're feeding on things, right? Is that okay with you? Well, it better be. Because you can't have both. You can't have both. They gotta eat something, and some of it's going to be really. But I will tell you, most of the time, it doesn't cause enough damage that we really worry about it all. So plants do just fine. The nice thing is, a lot of the flowers, the plants, and stuff that we talk about are multi-use plants. Yay! Native butterfly weed is a great plant. The native plant. The nice thing is, certainly, I think a lot of you know that it is one of those milkweeds that monarchs have to have in order to lay their eggs, and then that's one of the monarch caterpillars right there, kind of hanging out. And the nice thing is, it also provides nectar and pollen. You can see a lot of the other pollinators, bees, bumblebees, and stuff will also use milkweed. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's only for one use. So that's great. We love it. What we generally would want to go for is we'd opt for native plants. That'd be our first thing. Because we're talking about that diversity that's out there, and it really is one of those things that we would really like to see, to opt for those native plants. I'm a horticulturalist as well as a naturalist as well as a whole bunch of other names. You probably call me that maybe you don't want to. Other names. But the one thing is, I will say is that some of the native plants, where are they? They're out there in the PRP land, and they have all their neighbors, they have grasses and everything else to hold them up. Now, what do when you put them out in your landscape? They flop over. Well, of course they're going to flop over. They don't have the buddy that's holding them up out in the prairie area. So I
over, you weren't all necessarily happy about it. Believe me, there are plenty of other ones out there that you can really do with and have a good experience with them. So we know that native plants support a wider diversity of pollinators. We know that part of it. And they support different stages of the life cycle of pollinators. So we know those things too. So that's an important one. There's one of those butterflies May was talking about. That's on white speaker. Goldenrod is a great one, and I think several people mentioned it. Even mentioned that goldenrod, and actually in the living landscape, that's one of the first plants or first species of plant that he talks about as in supporting like 155 different lepidopteran species. Fabulous, fabulous plant. Goldenrod. Who thinks goldenrod cause hay fever? Oh, good, yay! Maybe we finally just they don't cause hay fever. They're insect pollinated, so they don't cause hay fever. Ragweed is blooming at the same time causing that. So lots of native goldenrods that are out there. The nice thing is, if you think goldenrod has to be this giant plant, you can only put it in the sun. Believe me, there's some native ones that actually do quite well in shady environments as well, and much shorter than that. So there's plenty of those out there, and even some cultivars as well. So that's it. Asters are another great group. We love it. Remember, we were talking about kind of that late season. Emo was talking about that kind of late season, August, September. We started having problems with not having enough forage for them. Goldenrods, asters, those are the type of plants that are going to be blooming during that time that provide that extra forage. And there are many, many, many asters out there that really will do quite well for you. Lots of bright iridescent colors that I just love. Bebop's another great one. Bebop, what a great name. Who knew? You know, Bebop. The nice thing about this one, there is a native one, this Narda fastuosa is a native one. There are some non-native ones as well that I say are also quite good. So you don't necessarily have to use strictly native plants, at least in my mind. The nice thing about the non-native ones, I will tell you, is as they make selections for powdery mildew resistance. One of the big problems with even the native Narda fastuosa. So that's, to me, that's a great compromise, I guess, to go ahead and have this powdery mildew resistance. Does it mean that non-native stuff is bad? Butterfly bush. It must be a good plant, right? It must be great, right? Sure. This is non-native. This is Buckley. It's a non-native plant. Absolutely. Butterflies will use it. You see all kinds of pollinators on these. The problem with these kind of non-native plants is there is nothing that uses this to complete its life cycle. In other words, it doesn't lay its eggs on it. It doesn't go ahead and feed on it. It doesn't continue the life cycle. So we're back to the vending machine. You can come, get a little meal, move on. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're horrible. It's just I wouldn't want to fill your whole landscape with these, expecting that you're going to have this great pollinator garden. Sedums are another non-native that I would say also is just a great plant. They're very, especially if you want something that's a little bit more count and doesn't flop over. I think the nice thing about these sedums is the fact that they're, again, blooming at the season. There are many cultivars, and they're very well-behaved type of plants. These non-natives, I think, are great for really full sun drought. I would also put catnip in this. This is in the mint family, and you'll find a lot of the pollinators like the plants in the mint family. If you're worried that all the cats are going to be rolling around in your yard because you have catnip, this is not catnip, this is catnip, which is different. They have kind of a mini fragrance to it, but it is another great plant. It will absolutely, it blooms very early in the season in May. If you shear it, it will bloom pretty much the rest of the season. You will have a plant that will pretty much bloom all season long. So I think they're great. When it comes to cultivars, it's a cultivated variety. Cultivated variety cultivars are. There's a lot of question, and I know some people would say don't use cultivars. I think we got to go with what our heart tells us. But if you are going to go with cultivars, what I would look for is like in the zinnia. These are two different types of zinnias. I would go with ones that are more daisy-like, what are called single petals. When we start getting these multiple petals, then we start having issues, and there's then would be quite a bit of concern about whether the pollinators would be able to. So going with cultivars, I would try to get ones that look, along those same lines of more daisy. Variety flowers, we already talked about this. The color shapes, these are all native plants, which add so much to our landscape. Flowers throughout the season. Don't forget, just that we have golden Alexanders, which I think is a great early season plant, but don't forget the trees and shrubs out there. Crab apples, we absolutely love them. Native plums, lots of those out there, certainly lots of shrubs that will also be great. Masses of flowers, so they don't have to travel quite so far. And I have those in there. One of the things that the Master Gardeners and Master Naturalists came up here in our area is this idea of pollinator pockets, because we knew people would be going, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Now what do I do? I got all these decisions to make. So we decided, okay, let's just come up with some basic ideas, some basic designs that you can go ahead and just do. And imagine if everybody in this room could use pollinator pockets, what an amazing thing it would be. So what we tried to do is small, manageable designs, 4 by 6 foot, ones that are perennial plants, easy care, availability, those kinds of things. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And then we're going to continue with our designs as time goes on. These are actually on our website, and you can find one of the native woodland plant ones. We tried to give some options if people don't find those particular plants. So it's just real basic, these cookie cutter things to really help you. We made some designs to make sure that things are blooming throughout the season. Try to keep all those things in mind as far as shapes and colors and all those kinds of things. And still have a beautiful garden. How cool. Overall designs, I would definitely think in layers. So as you think about ground covers, herbaceous plants, shrubs, small trees, big trees, that's really what we're talking about, where it looks more like if you went out in the woods, what would it look like? All those different layers and kinds of things. And I see at least where we're going to see these, where it's really a mix of natives as well as what I'll say well-behaved non-natives, so ones that we know are not going to be an issue when it comes to invasive. So I think there's nothing wrong with doing both of those things together. Eliminate pesticide use. We talked about that, or certainly reduced it, and realize that you're going to have these kind of issues. This is actually leaf cutter bee damage on hostas. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's cool. Now, if you're a hosta grower, you probably think this is like, oh my gosh, let me see my plant. But if you can look at this, I mean, look, the majority of the plant is just fine. You know, it's got a little extra fringe on it. That's what I think. It's just got a little extra fringe. You know, whatever. It looks like a designer. That's what we should call it. It's a designer hosta. Yes, scalloped edges. And accessible water is a big deal too, of course. You got to make sure that, especially if we have drought periods and stuff, honeybees will certainly use sometimes to owners not so happy that have pools. They may not feel like terribly crazy about it, but they need water out there. So maybe decide that you're going to have some areas where the bees, the butterflies and stuff can actually use it. Maybe put out a shallow bird bath filled with soil that they keep it moist. Have a rocky area that you keep moist. Those kinds of things, so that they have water accessible. Leaving stems over the winter time. I think it looks kind of nice anyway. So if you're one of those people that really feels like you need to clean up everything in the fall, maybe certain areas. It's really important for shelter and nesting. And I know this is for some folks, but I'm assuming since you're already here that maybe you're not have a terribly wonderful love affair with your lawn, but just a really dandelion. Look how early they flower. For a lot of the pollinators, I would say, Emo, maybe you know too, as well as me, is that for a lot of the pollinators, dandelions are like it, right? That's probably pretty good pollen, even though they're not native. Yeah, probably pretty good pollen. So dandelions, if you let the dandelions, white clover, I don't know how many times I've seen honeybees from white clover that's in a lawn, even violet. So think about it now. Maybe you can't do it in your front yard because you just don't feel like the neighbors are going to like you anymore, and you're going to create all kinds of havoc. Do it in the backyard, do it in the side yard, do it someplace where maybe people don't see it, but just have one area maybe where you can go ahead and let some of these things happen. Certainly providing some of these nesting areas. There are things called bee boxes, but I would also say for some of the ground nesting bees, what I have found along flagstone pathways where we kind of use a lot of sand or maybe gravel and stuff along these flagstone pathways, a lot of the ground nesters like those. The bees like those areas where it's open. So, or maybe just have some unmulched areas, those kinds of things. Personally, I haven't had a problem with having them near a pathway, but you know, it's one of those things you kind of have to maybe put it off in a certain area and worry about them because they really don't want to go over you. I mean, they have much better things to do than worry about you. So, so don't worry. Okay, so hopefully this is a bit of a primer as I've talked really, really, really fast, and I think I got under my time. And I think now we have time for questions. Okay, good.
Okay, we're going going to move into our questions. As I see a few people sneaking out, can I ask one huge favor? When you sat down, and I don't know if they passed it out for those of you standing, but there should be an evaluation form. Could you please fill that out and turn it into us? Because we would really like to talk. We'd really like to maybe do this again, but hit other topics. So with that, we have a couple microphones for our panels. Do we have anybody with flag right here? We'll have our first question.
Bees carry pollen on their legs in those pollen pads. Where do the flies carry the pollen? They actually don't carry it, say, as much as they get foam on them, and less precise a process. That said, the butterflies are really good pollinators. Blowflies, the maggots dead things, adult stages are amazing good pollinators on the other anybody that's any kind of hair carrying pollen. Bees are really good with their hair as a match. And it's a little bit like the static shoulders,
Yes, I'd like to address to those who might be interested. Do the bee colonies, are they affected by climate change? As any of the climate change that we have, or the air, or the lack of clean air for them, could they have caused some of the deterioration in bee colonies?
Some bees have survived some of the cold weather, and we can't raise enough bees in this area to fill the need. Most of the bees that we purchase come out of the south, and that's where a lot of the pollination takes place for the fruit orchards, like the orange grove one in Florida, and because they don't use as many pesticides and so on at that time of pollination, the bee colonies actually expand, and those beekeepers are finding places for the extra bees. So they're packaged up, and we have in the north purchase them. I'm not sure that beyond that, the climate change has great effect. But the biggest thing that I have experienced is that if the bees have sufficient stores of good honey, and there is a large number of bees in the hive, that they will survive the winter. And like I tried to indicate, with the hives, do not have enough bees in them, and they don't have any much store of honey, they're not going to survive.
One of the hallmarks of climate change is increasing variability of climate, including increased frequency of drought. Droughts have an enormous impact on pollinators. Moreover, increasing warming beyond bees changes the phenology or the seasonality of different species. So, what seems to have happened, among other things, bumblebees, for example, are kind of locked into the coast of cold weather. And all around the world, bumblebee ranges are changing. They're shifting northward, or they're moving up mountains, so they're out of altitude and changing. Some of them just dropping out altogether. There's also mismatches. There are very few handfuls of plant species that depend on particular insect pollinators, and their ranges are changing at different rates. They're responding to climate change at different rates. Then you get mismatches, and you find plant populations out of harmony. So they're all kinds of effects of the various manifestations of climate change.
I've been reading, doing some research, because I actually applied for a small grant to put more pollinator species on our farm. And one of the studies that I found that was done at Michigan State was actually saying that planting areas of single species plants that are blooming in succession is actually a better way to attract and keep pollinators than having a spatial diversity. And I was wondering, since that flies in the face of what so many of you are recommending, what if you've heard of that work and what you think of it. So, for example, planting single stands of brassicas for spring pollination, going into mid-season buckwheat or clover stands, and following with some kind of fall flowering species, but focusing on either single or dual species swards of plants.
I think it would depend to a great extent on the nature of the pollinator and whether diversity has all kinds of dimensions. So as there are sources for the pollinator community, I still think there are so well. If you have a stock portfolio, you never invest in one thing and one company. So even if there is a marginal benefit, I think long term that's not necessarily a strategy. Remember what this what's that? Is that Rufus Isaacs? Is that the name of it? It was, I think, one of his studies. Yeah, I would not to question the work, but I would say that for long term optimization, I would not rely on monoculture hatching. All it takes is like one wave of power in the business. There you go.
That is one of the reasons for all the mixes. I in our guide kind of create hunting corridors for predators, and one of the reasons for the multiple mixes is to give more protection. So not just the pollinators, but the other ones.
I don't know the generic name for Roundup or Is Roundup acceptable to use or not? I've heard both, but I don't know which one to. Home guard. I think it's like, Roundup, it's a non-selective herbicide. It's like any pesticide. If you're going to use it, have a good reason. This is what you guys were talking about. He was talking about, have a good reason for using it. Are there other things that you can do to take care of that weed? It's not something you're going to be spraying on typically on, I should say, but you probably wouldn't in the flowering stage. Because at that point, once it's the flowering stage, you probably already lost the game anyway. Because you should have been spraying it when it was much younger before it flowered. So I would say that's probably part of it too. So I think it's like any pesticide that can be used properly, and just overall reduction of any pesticide. Probably don't think of other things, but I can guarantee you the quackgrass in my garden, if it raises its little head, I guarantee it is a little Roundup. Glyphosate on it, and that takes care of it. I have tons of pollinators, I have pollinators, I think it's how it's used when it's used.
I actually like using Roundup in some situations too, like she's saying. So like if I'm working on a CRP project that's been sitting out there idle for 20 years and it's never had any management done to it, it's just a straight stand of brome grass, switchgrass, zero diversity. And a lot of times the only way to fix that is just completely start over. And to completely start over, you're looking at chemical application, just squirting out Roundup and starting over. You're gonna have a year where it's nothing, maybe 20 years or something.
There have been discussions about the homeowner and also the farmer, but has there been any serious consideration how the highway right-of-ways could be used as a source for pollinators?
On April 30th, the White House Executive Office convened a meeting about 50 invited individuals, nonprofit for an initiative on pollinator health. And 2 months later, there was a presidential memorandum essentially executive which charged all federal agencies to do everything they can to improve pollinator health and pollinator habitat. And among the charges was to reduce acres of federal government highway right of way as a way to diversify the landscape. So this was a subject of, I was at that meeting, a subject of considerable discussion. We talk about lawn delay. I mean, why are you on right away? It pollutes the environment, you know, it's labor costs, it's reducing diversity. I've been but it's an incredible opportunity. There are millions and millions of acres that could be productively planted today. Native, first natural communities. And yeah, so that's on the list.
When you're coming out on 72, there are some big, you know, there's some land on there, and I know around Springfield, and I'm not so sure.
Like, passing laws, what if it's laws that got passed? They're only supposed to be mowing 2 swaths along the interstate and the center. But I will tell you, I've worked fields, walked fields along the interstate. It's gonna be a great place for plants, but I don't look for wildlife ever. Go stand by an interstate, and you'll quickly see. It will take you only about 30 seconds to realize why you don't see wildlife in the same place. But it'll be a great place for us to have a huge amount of biodiversity that we can move up to.
With solitary bees and flies, stem nesting plants, I'm concerned. I have in my backyard a small prairie patch as well as a good-sized stand of cultivar decorative grasses. I leave those all winter, just seeds or whatever drops by. But my concern is that I burn both of those every spring, try to keep everything else under control. But now I'm concerned about the solitary bees maybe nesting in those grasses, and is there a point at which I can burn them and figure that they've already moved on?
That's a problem here in central Illinois. I mean, burning is the optimal way to manage, but historically, the tall grass prairie is a so-called fire gas climax of humans. So the plants depend on maintain between burning, and where there is no burning, that's where the trucks take our bin. Now that's fine if you had, you know, miles and miles, acres and acres of undeveloped land. The problem is how close to stand. So historically, fires were patchy, and there were places that wildlife could, like we said, could disperse. So that is a problem. Prairies that are managed for flowers, plants, often end up not helping the residents with that because they don't have place to grow. There are little tiny moths that might go like doctor, and a lot of them are internal feeders of a lot of prairie plants. There's no adjacent prairie plant. But if you know that there are other patches nearby, then the likelihood, I can only make management recommendations, but you can see that
How close to be alive? I think someone asked how often do you burn? Our biologist recommends once every 3 years. And actually, if you come to our office, we recommend you only do a third of it every year. So like you were saying, you're not burning off all of it at one shot.
And there's also been even more recent research done showing that maybe even once every 5 to 6 years, more optimal than once every 3 years, just to kind of let that succession happen. You don't want to burn every year, that's too much succession. And then also, a lot of times, to help what she's talking about, we'll put on fall burns, and that really helps the wildflowers understand rejuvenate everything.
If you want to stress on the burning, the Barnhart Prairie, south of Urbana. We've got 100 acres there. We now have finally gotten from the corner on the prairie. We're out control. Burn it every spring. Actually, we did a fall burn that has helped us tremendously. So just like you're saying, we only burn a section. We have maps, and we try to spread around that. But it's a huge help with the flowers.
I have a question about this CRP plots that are with vaccinated. That they look beautiful, but I wonder since they're so close to crops, if the pesticides are still a problem for
Well, I don't know. It depends on the pesticide. Now, and also soil type drainage. The seed dressing, the equipment were actually developed to be environmentally compatible and design-wise. Everything we do is to protect the environment. Turns out there are consequences. So, treat the seed in order to avoid having to apply, broadcast pesticides on airplanes. Problem is, pesticides don't take either. There was a problem early on with corn dust, inappropriate steam, and all the pesticides were supposed to fly in the air and killing the black bill of bees. But even when it's in systemically, some of the neonates have very long residual periods, so not all of them. So again, it depends on the pesticide. Some of them will remain in the soil and with patterns of water movement, but in general, I would here in central Illinois, so much of it is corn and now seed trees, corn and soybeans. I would think that in general that neighboring vegetation much preferred, and if there is contamination, much lower.
I'm going to give a little advertisement before the next question. On our website, the one that Sandy referenced, we've listed all the different organizations that have native plant sales, Grand Prairie Friends, the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and Aspen Naturalists. So look for that if you're having trouble finding native plants.
Stop having them on the day of the spring bird count.
Contact me ahead, I'll get it.
Given the amount of corn that's planted in this area, one of the speakers generated some concern about bees, specifically bees feeding on corn root dust or corn roots. I can see two concerns there. One is with seed that might be coated with insecticides, but of course the other is BT corn. And so the question is, BT corn, is there evidence that it is toxic to bees?
Right in the early days of CCD, that was what everybody glommed onto, and there is an abundance of literature that provides absolutely no evidence of non-target impacts of corn pollen. The reason is that Clostridium the bacterium, which produces an endotoxin, toxic protein, many different strains, a variety of Clostridium, and each curiously seems to be specifically targeted to the whole insect. And what goes into corn is historically has been hay and Clostridium which is targeted to lepidopteran. Corn was developed to control your corn borer and other and it just doesn't affect bees. What it would have on bees is if they're eating corn pollen instead of something healthy. But that's true for just about anything.
We had beehives for about 20 years, from 1964 into the 80s. We had 10 to 12 hives most of the time. We had very little die-off. We had dairy farm. We had alfalfa. We did a lot of many fertilizers. And until then, later they did start eventually we did quit because they had diseases that bees naturally get, and we also, because they had so much work making hay, we did quit because we didn't have enough labor. I just want to add today's corn is actually corn rural. This PCT is a different form of the endotoxin, and it specifically affects coleoptera in the field. And there is no BT that has a toxic protein that affects the species used in the crop.
Just a side note on the whole BT corn. I have more farmers coming in trying to find the non-BT varieties out there because they find these real fast. So, not every acre you see out there is being planted. Triple stack and the other names are
This kind of goes along with what Sandy was talking about. Doug Ptolemy is going to be at the Midwest Urban Garden Show. He's the keynote speaker who was the author of the book, The Living Landscape. And he will be there February 13th and February 14th at Times Square Mall in Mount Vernon. I think it's Friday evening and I think Saturday morning, late morning. You have to check those times. But he'll be doing the keynote speaking there, and it's free, open to anyone who shows up. He's an excellent speaker, and has beautiful photographs, and really talks from the heart. He talks about a lot of things that, as he's looking at his own landscape. It's really great. He's very knowledgeable.
Any other questions?
For Sandy Mason, I was looking at your slides and your presentation, and it was talking about when you were talking about having water available for, I believe the bees. Don't remember exactly what it was for, but for pollinators. There was one slide that said that they have a wet place with sea salt on it, and that got my attention. I was curious about that.
Yeah, and actually maybe Meg could talk about this more knowledgeable than I am. But butterflies, especially the males, when they first come out, they like to do something called cuddling. I don't know if you've ever seen them, and they're often, you'll see them on the roads, which are country roads and stuff, and they're really picking up minerals. This is all minerals, and so, am I correct on this? This is all minerals, so basically you're sort of mimicking that thing for the, and it's a fun thing to watch anyway, as they all do together. They're all fresh right out.
I have a question for Jason. We have a small field with clover and alfalfa. Think about pheasants and harvester. Hey, can you talk about that a little bit?
About introducing pheasants or about what kind of mix you want to have. Actually, through Pheasants Forever, we don't really promote introducing pheasants at all. We're more about promoting habitat because we've actually found that when you promote pheasants to a new area, you're actually putting out dinner plates for some of the predators there. Because they're not near as smart as wild birds. So you're basically bringing in all the coyotes and foxes and raccoons into the area. And in the long run, you're actually great.
Okay, one more question, then I'm going to let it.
One of the problems with an alfalfa field is you're going to want to harvest it right in the nesting season. Anyway, a lot of you are probably old enough to have done it, but when you pop the sycamore and cut the egg, those hens won't get off that nest, and pretty soon you've got a hen.
To add to that too, when you guys are cutting alfalfa, it's best to start in the middle and then kind of just make squares to the outside. Because when you start on the outside and you work your way in, you're actually moving all the birds to the inside, going more that way. So when you start in the middle, you're at least giving them a chance to get out there.
This is for Jason. I've got like 2 acres of prairie grass that I burned at like 10 years old. 15 different small grasses. Honeybees are right in the middle of it. He said I could put new seed into it. Do I have to burn it and drill it, or can I burn it and just roll it?
The best way to do it is do a fall burn and then drill it in the fall or drill it in the spring. But a lot of times it's easier to run that. So what we'll do is have goats guys go out in the middle of the winter right after But yeah, the best is to do it right after it snows, and then the seed is sitting on top of that snow and it melts the seed right there. Like wood typically yes. A lot of times in broadcasting, depending on the soil type or the area, we'll recommend twice as much seed or but yeah.
One thing about all these bird plants and grass seeds, they don't need to be in the soil. I've got farmers that come in and dig in and grow it, and I find out it's not happening. Doesn't work. They barely, matter of fact, a lot of my best planting, something like this, the broadcast. Oh, I follow Jason on that one, to be honest. The farmers that have just taken a field right out of production, they've already harvested, those are the guys that I told don't touch broadcasting, get a lawnmower, or a lot of those guys have what they call the quad busters. They'll sit in the shed somewhere, just a big thin roller, and roll it, because it just gives that right amount of contact to the soil ratio.
And the general rule of thumb with the seed size is however big the seed is, that's how much you want to do. So like a lot of grass seeds, quarter inch long, that's how deep you want it. Some quarters really tiny, so you just barely want to. Yeah, you can do that too. Broadcasting in the spring, I definitely recommend twice as much seed because all the rain is around. Cross the seed around.
We do plant until about June 15th. We okay that at the office. Well, yeah, gentlemen, ladies, we are keeping you way past our time, so we're gonna wrap it up. I did put up on the screen everything tonight. I believe has been recorded, and it's probably going to be up on YouTube in a minute, and it'll be televised. Please leave your evaluations on the table, and please fill them out. They are important to us, and we really thank you all. And don't be scared to take some brochures or to do a big hand. Thank you.